Hi, everyone, and welcome to my channel. In today's video, we're going to do a little bit of a deep dive into Shannon Smith, the attorney for Jennifer Crumbley. There were some antics that went on in the courtroom just the other day. The trial's just beginning. There's already, like I said, some antics going on. And so I wanted to do a little dive into Shannon Smith and see what she's all about, look into her past, her history. I was curious, so I thought I would take you guys along with me and let's look into Shannon Smith. So I've got this article here that we'll just kind of skim through. We'll go through this article, definitely talks about some of her past cases and talks a little bit about her. So I thought we would start there. I'm also going to play some clips from the antics in the trial. You guys will have to let me know what you think in the comments as we go through this. So let's start with this article here. 4 years since the curtain fell on the highly publicized trial of disgraced Michigan State University doctor Larry Nassar, Michigan's courts are playing venue to another public court spectacle. So yes, she was part of the defense team for Larry Nassar. This time, the national spotlight is trained on Jennifer and James Crumbley, the parents of the Oxford High School shooter. Much like Nassar, they become the subjects of near universal hatred. But there's one thing they have in common. They each enlisted the help of defense attorney Shannon Smith. Smith of Bloomfield Township law firm Smith Lehman is also known for her 2018 victory in the nation's first federal FGM case. FGM, I have to abbreviate on YouTube, is a form of mutilation on females. So there was a doctor accused of that, of which Smith defended, and the case ended up being thrown out. Each of these ventures has fed her budding reputation as having a penchant for the most notorious and vile of cases. Now, defense attorneys are needed, absolutely needed, and even for the most vile cases, they are needed. So no harm, no foul there. It certainly seems to beckon publicity, but the 42-year-old, so she's 42 years old, the 42-year-old says she didn't set out to become the designated public enemy number one defender. In fact, she didn't plan to practice criminal law at all. If you'd have told me when I started that I'd be defending people accused of horrible crimes, I would have said there's no way. So it says here she graduated from Michigan State University College of Law, and she passed the bar exam in 2006. It says she'd planned on going into family law, but ended up going into SVU type crimes. She said this experience opened her eyes to her true calling. I realized how easy it was for people to be falsely accused, as well as the ramifications of that. Now, knowing how many people I've helped save from that, I can't imagine doing any other kind of work. She's well aware that not everyone views what she does in such a positive light. Negative press coverage, along with harassing emails, phone calls, and social media comments, ensure she never forgets. Even after a decade in her field, she still found herself struggling to cope with the negativity. It's hard, and it was harder a couple years ago when I cared a lot more about what people thought of me. So when she defended Larry Nassar, I've got a photo here I'm going to show you. So this is her when she was defending Larry Nassar. And as you can tell, she's, a little bit larger in this photo. Nothing wrong with that. But the next paragraph explains the difference in how she looks now versus back then. So this is how she looks now. This paragraph explains. The turning point came in 2019 when Smith developed an esophageal stricture, which would take a full year and multiple surgeries to abate. During this period, she visited the hospital 24 times and derived the bulk of her nourishment from an IV. When the ordeal had finally passed, Smith was left frail and malnourished, about 100 pounds lighter, and tasked with rebuilding her health. It made me realize I was going to run myself in the ground if I kept putting energy into things that aren't worth it. Right then, she made a decision. I can't care what people think. I can't let this job kill me. So it sounds like a lot of the negativity that she was experiencing from defending horrific crimes really got to her and may have played a role in what she had going on with her health. And so it sounds like now she is working to really not care what people think. And, that's good. You can't when you have a controversial job like that. So, okay, here we go to this paragraph here. It says, but it hasn't always been easy, especially in light of her most recent case. Smith is defending the Crumbley'S, who provided their underage son with the weapon used in the mass unaliving and allegedly ignored his displays of mental illness against charges of involuntary manslaughter. So basically, they're just saying here that she's now defending the Crumbley'S. So it looks like she's defending the husband as well, but his trial isn't happening right now. So she's defending Jennifer at the moment against involuntary manslaughter. Since agreeing to represent them, she's been inundated with criticism, often from those who accuse her of supporting the school shooting. They act like we, the lawyers, are somehow responsible for the death and injury that took place on that horrible day. And, you got to separate it out. Of course, defense attorneys aren't a part of whatever their client is accused of doing. And defense attorneys are necessary. She resents that, insisting her reasons for accepting this case are the same as ever. We fight zealously to protect the innocent because often the criminal justice system gets it wrong. And that does happen. This is not to say that she draws the line at defending the guilty. Even when serving a less than innocent client, she says she sleeps just fine at night. No one expects lawyers to work magic. If somebody is stone cold guilty and the evidence is there, they're going to be proven guilty. The cases I lose sleep over are those where I believe someone innocent could end up in prison or on the registry or losing their children. So basically, they're just saying that she receives death threats. Her family, let's see, she's been forced to enlist security services for her office as well as her personal residence. Such incidents have fueled a growing need for privacy that culminated in her family's recent move. She's declined to specify her locale, smart, noting the notoriety of her newest case. However, she did say this: we moved to the middle of nowhere on a very big lot on a dirt road where no one will know where I live. But even as she strives for privacy, Smith seems reluctant to give up the limelight. She's been meeting with publishers to discuss the printing of a book she's writing about her experiences in law. She hopes the text, which she describes as the rules of being a badass female defense lawyer and how to survive it, it's a little interesting, will help others like her achieve a similar level of success. I want to see powerful women doing this work, she says. And I know I'm a good example for them. Possibly. We'll see. Let's dive a little bit deeper. Okay, guys, I've got another article up here, and we're going to go back just a little bit because this is where things with this attorney get a little bit controversial. Okay. So, like I said, this was her when she was defending Larry Nassar, and she apparently really offended many of the victims in this case with some controversial comments that she made. So let's read about this. This is from 2018. Okay. Larry Nassar's defense attorney, Shannon Smith, has not been in the court with her client during the past 2 weeks of proceedings, but she has created a firestorm nonetheless. In an exclusive interview with local radio and television personality Charlie Langton Thursday morning, Smith questioned some of the survivors who have come forward and expressed doubt about their. So basically, what they're saying here is she has expressed doubt about their accounts of harm. This is what she said. This is a huge part of me that does not believe that every one of those girls were victimized by him. That's rough coming from another woman. Even though he was her client, I don't see why she felt the need to say something like this, especially as a professional woman, an attorney. I mean, this is very controversial, and I could see why victims would be very, very hurt by this. Smith went on to say that she thinks some women were victimized. Some women were victimized, but suggested that others have come to believe they were victimized because of the way the case has spun, in a way, out of control. So she kept talking. She should have just shut it with the first horrible comment. But no, she had to keep going and explain why she thought that way. Smith said there were girls who had perfectly normal lives who were never questioned. Oh, I'm sorry, who never questioned the treatment they received until the decades of harm was made public. And this guy, this Nassar, pleaded guilty, okay, to multiple counts of harm. So Smith's comments sparked outrage among many survivors, many of whom shared in recent weeks the difficulty in coming forward for fear of not being believed. Unbelievable. It's disturbing and re-victimizing the courageous women and girls who have so bravely stepped forward to share their most intimate and difficult stories, as if we wanted to be known for something like this. Women and girls don't get excited to jump on the bandwagon for something as horrific as this, survivor Larissa Boyce told The Athletic in a text message. Boyce, who revealed last week that she told former MSU gymnastics coach Kathy Cleggs about Nassar in 1997, also pointed out Smith's conspicuous absence from the courtroom in recent weeks. So it's not really clear, at least so far in this article, whether she stopped appearing in court after she made these horrific comments. We'll read on and see if it clarifies, but I'm not really sure. They're not super clear on why she wasn't in court. Let's see. Okay, so Smith told The Athletic she was out because of health issues. Now, that could have been true because we read about how she did have those health issues. So that may have been true. But you guys, already, these comments, this woman seems to be someone that maybe reacts out of emotion or possibly speaks before she thinks. Things come flying out of her mouth. So it says here she was only in court for 2 of the 8 days so far. I truly do not believe she heard a word of any of our stories, Boyce said. She needs to educate herself on the way a PD works. Clearly, she has not done that and has been manipulated by him herself. Or this is a tasteless and heartless publicity stunt on her end. It is wrong on all levels of humanity to say that some of the women coming forward were not really harmed by him. It was distasteful and heartless. I agree. Especially, like I said, coming from an attorney that is defending Nassar. Smith, who revealed in her interview with Langton that she has received death threats for defending Nassar, said of her client, I think Larry Nassar comes off as a really good person. You guys, she kept going. She's still going. I think Larry Nassar comes off as a really good person. Remember, he pleaded guilty. There is no doubt he did a lot of good for his patients. While people are criticizing the techniques he used, I see good in Larry Nassar. Despite the plea, I see good in everyone. Oh, honey, you are putting your proverbial foot in your mouth with all of this. Smith reached via email on Thursday morning, declined an interview request regarding her recent comments. Unfortunately, I'm going to be out of the office for the rest of today, Smith said. Smith's co-counsel, Matt Newberg, did not respond to a message left at his office on Thursday. Morgan McCall, who has been among the most outspoken on behalf of her fellow survivors, said she, like Boyce, was disturbed by Smith's comments. She drew a parallel between these comments and those of officials at MSU and USAG who enabled Nassar to harm girls for decades. That's a really good point. Survivors continue to fight this fight, seeking justice against Larry Nassar and entities who are empowered by him, despite re-victimizing and unlawful comments by Nassar's defense. He pled guilty. He did not withdraw his plea upon questioning at his Ingham County sentencing. This is a cheap, damaging publicity ploy from Shannon Smith. McCall was not the only one to make the latter point. In fact, it was part of Rachel Denhollander's sharp rebuke during her impact statement last Wednesday, the final of 156 in total that were made before Nassar was sentenced for up to 40 to 175 years on multiple counts of first-degree criminal harm conduct. Denhollander, who was the first to come forward and speak publicly about Nassar's abuse, I said it, trying so hard not to, in a September 2016 story in the Indianapolis Star, delivered scathing criticism of Smith's conduct in her prepared remarks, detailing what she said were Smith's lies and attack on my character. These poor women, you guys. I mean, and coming from another woman too, another professional woman, as if these victims haven't been through enough. Out of the two women in question that day, Miss Smith and I, who were attempting to communicate through either questions or answers, I would like to note that only one of us was taking pictures of the courtroom on her cell phone. Only one of us posed for the press and said, quote, I feel like I should say cheese. And out of the two of us, only one of us was making money off of her court appearance that day. I'm really glad to see these survivors standing up for themselves. I think it's absolutely horrific that this professional decided to go make these horrific comments publicly. And I'm really glad to see them defending themselves. Personally, I think it's an interesting point for her to be making right now. Larry pled guilty. He said in his own words in front of a judge, his survivors, and the world that he did this for his own gratification and not for medical purposes. There is no question here. We have spent weeks in a courtroom telling the world the most intimate details of our harm and how difficult this has been, and yet we continue to go unbelieved and unheard. This is why victims don't come forward. This is why we are fighting so hard to create change and end the stigma around SA. were up to 265 survivors of Larry. I guess my question is, how many survivors does it take to be believed that he is truly a predator and not a hero? 265 lives have been forever changed. Apparently, that's not enough for some people. Let's go back to some of the comments she made. She's saying she thinks some women were victimized, but suggested that others come to believe they were victimized because of the way the case has spun, in a way out of control. This is, yeah, this is definitely scandalous and completely unprofessional. So we're working our way to what is currently going on in her newest trial. But I definitely wanted to go back and give you guys some backstory on her antics in some other trials. Okay, so I also went to Yelp and looked through there, and I found some reviews for Shannon Smith Law. So Yelp has rules and regulations of what reviews will be used towards companies' ratings, okay? Now, these reviews are posted, so I want to read through some of them, but they weren't used in her rating. So they're called not currently recommended reviews, but they're interesting at that. So I thought we'd read through a few of them. So this one says that she faxed opposing counsel client documents and she was unprepared and left them with a messier situation than when they started. This one says incredibly rude and arrogant, likes to harass her clients' victims online. See, I thought that was an interesting comment because that's kind of seems like what she was doing to Larry Nassar's victims in some of those vile statements that she made. It seems like that was a form of harassment to his victims. And this person here is saying she likes to harass her clients' victims online. Let's see. This one's just saying that she did a horrible job defending this person's son. This one is also very interesting. Shannon comments on potential clients' Facebooks for potential business. That's a pretty low move for someone who should conduct themselves professionally. She bickers back and forth with random strangers online like an insecure teenager, defending horrible people before they even hire her. So basically what this person is saying is that it looks like she goes to Facebook pages of people that might have been accused of horrible things, and she starts defending them in the comments in hopes of getting their business. Allegedly, like this is just what this review is saying. Don't know if it's true, but if it is, yuck, that is awful. So, and then these comments here is basically just people expressing their views of her. I don't think these people had used her as an attorney or whatnot. So, but I just thought some of those comments were interesting. So now you've got we've kind of looked into her past cases, past controversies. And I don't know why I'm struggling with that word, but I am today. So bear with me. I apologize. So we looked into past controversies with Shannon Smith, okay, and past cases, high profile cases. Now let's fast forward to Jennifer Crumbley's trial and look at some of the antics that have gone on there. So fast forward to Jennifer Crumbley's trial, which is going on currently. This little snippet of video here is kind of what started the antics that I'm going to show you. So there was some video footage shown, and Jennifer Crumbley started sobbing, according to reports, crying. And Shannon Smith, her attorney, was wiping her face and crying as well, apparently, allegedly. So basically, the prosecution is saying that that shouldn't be allowed. They shouldn't be allowed to show emotion. It could possibly sway the jury. So it started this kind of back and forth between the prosecution and the defense. So let's watch this little snippet where it shows Shannon Smith wiping her face and Jennifer Crumbley crying here real quick. So you can see her wiping her face right there, Shannon Smith. She's kind of out of the picture now, but you can see Jennifer Crumbley here up close. And it looks like they're both having some sort of emotional situation going on. That's kind of where it started for the next video clip I'm going to show you. Okay, so let's watch through this together and we'll see some of what went on in court the other day. And you guys will have to let me know what you think, if this was professional, a slightly unhinged, emotional outburst, what you guys think. But let's watch through this together, some of this.
Your Honor, this court, upon the defense's request, instructed the prosecutors not to show emotion. You instructed the prosecutors to tell our witnesses not to show.
Okay, so the prosecution is saying that per the defense's request, they were told not to show emotion. Per the defense's request, she's telling the judge. And this is right after Jennifer Crumbley and her attorney Shannon Smith were seen crying, okay?
Emotion. And you instructed us to let our victims know. I understand the ruling, Your Honor. I do. You're concerned about influence of the jury. I take no issue with it, but it was a difficult thing. It's difficult, and we're doing it. And then to have not just the defendant, her lawyer, sit there sobbing. So
I did not sob.
I just want to finish, Your Honor. I just want to finish.
So the video's a little choppy. I apologize, but she's basically saying to have not just the defendant, but her attorney crying. And then Shannon Smith gets up over here and she's saying, I did not sob. That's kind of where we're at. Let me go back and see if we can get more of that.
So
I did not sob.
I just want to finish, Your Honor. I just want to finish. I think if that is the instruction, we are trying really hard to respect the court's instruction because I understand the reason for it.
Okay, I didn't tell people not to show emotion. Some of that is involuntary, but there have been times in this courtroom.
So it's kind of hard to hear the judge, but basically she's saying, I did not say to not show emotion. Some of it's involuntary. So she's kind of sticking up for the defense here. Okay.
During trials, when people will show facial expressions or things like that, or make comments. I understand this is a very emotional situation for everyone here, right? If someone was audibly sobbing in the audience, I would hope that they would exit. And as you said, the reason for it. I didn't tell anybody not to show emotion. I guess some emotion is involuntary. So,
do you guys see that? Do you guys see that? Is it just me, or do you guys see that? It looks like she's turning her back to the judge and flipping the bird. Now, prior to this, the way she was standing with her arms crossed, acting like to me, it was quite childish. The way she was standing with her arms like this, it seemed quite childish to me. If you look at the gentleman on the other side of her, he's standing there and he looks like he's, just standing there professionally, listening to what the judge is saying. She's moving all around, crossing her arms. And now it looks to me like she's turned around and literally flipped the bird. Let's keep watching and then we'll go back to that.
I guess I'm asking what you're asking of me.
I think it should apply to both facts.
Your Honor, first of all, I was not sobbing, and this is horrific.
I've never seen this before.
It's horrific. That's why we asked the court not to play it. This is horrific. I don't know how the prosecutor. She's watched it 100 times with these witnesses. It's horrific.
You had this video over to you.
I don't know. I don't have this video. I have to go to their office to watch it.
You've seen it.
No, I haven't, because it's not necessary. It's not relevant to my client's case. We've already litigated this, but we're doing our best. We were not sobbing or making a scene in any way. All my eye makeup's still on. I checked my camera.
I'm not having.
I need to run to the bathroom. I need a break.
Okay, we're having a break. That's what we're doing. And you're gonna keep your voices down because
I'm sorry.
The walls are cardboard in here. So
I'm sorry.
okay, all right. Everyone here is human, right? Everyone here is human. I understand that. I'm striving really hard to give both sides a fair trial, and if people don't at least try to check themselves, to exit if it's that excruciating, which I know it is,
So basically the judge is saying here she's trying to give each side a fair trial, and that's great. And she's basically saying if you feel like you're getting emotional, check yourself, exit if you need to. So she's basically saying that they do need to keep their emotions under control, but she's also, I think she's trying to be fair for both sides here. But the way that Shannon Smith, the attorney, is so animated and, turning here and turning there and pointing and, I don't know. It doesn't seem super professional to me. So that's basically, and then she's like, I need a break. I need to go to the bathroom. I looked at my eye makeup. My makeup didn't even come off. I don't know. It just doesn't seem very professional to me. You guys will have to let me know what you think. But let's go back and look at that and see if she really, I swear, you guys, it looks like she flipped the bird.
Okay, I didn't tell people not to show emotion. Some of that is involuntary, but there have been times in this courtroom during trials when people will show facial expressions or things like that, or make comments. I understand this is a very emotional situation.
I don't know what she's looking at in the.
Right? If someone was.
It's like she's looking at the audience or the people in the courtroom. I don't know what she's looking at.
I hope that they would exit. And as you said, the reason for it. I didn't tell anybody not to show emotion. I guess some emotion is involuntary. So.
See? Maybe you can construe it as something that has to do with wiping her eyes. I don't know, you guys. I don't know. We'll go back a couple times and look again, but
I guess
see? To me, that looked like the bird to me. If that's the case, that is so unprofessional. Let's look again.
Not to show emotion. I guess some emotion is involuntary. So I guess I'm asking what you're asking.
I don't know. Maybe she didn't mean it that way.
It should apply to both sides.
Your Honor, first of all, I was not sobbing, and this is horrific.
So anyways, guys, let me know what you think in the comments, because I don't know. To me, that looked like it was the bird. And even if it wasn't, she's being awfully animated. And I don't know. It looks unprofessional to me. This case has literally just gotten started, this trial. So this is going to be like pop the popcorn, sit back. This is going to be definitely interesting, not just for the simple fact that parents have never been tried before for involuntary manslaughter for their son or child committing such a horrific crime. That in itself is unprecedented. And then you've got this attorney that, I don't know, she just seems like very overly emotional. If she doesn't get her way, she acts out. I don't know. And I really do, to me, that looked like the bird. But again, you guys let me know what you think. And definitely, I don't know, you guys. This is why I wanted to do a little deep dive into her past and kind of get an idea of her background, because I was like, who is this attorney? I've got to look into this. So hopefully you guys found this video entertaining, to say the least, maybe a little bit informative. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like and definitely subscribe, because I am going to definitely keep you updated on what's going on with this trial, and especially with Shannon Smith. This really ought to be interesting. So those of you that have stayed till the end, thank you so much for watching. Thanks for your support, and I'll see you in the next one.